Okay, let's get into this. Today, we're diving into, well, a really fascinating idea. It takes trading charts, usually seen as super technical, right?
Right, very data-driven.
And it looks at them through a completely different lens, art. We found this great article that uses this elegant metaphor, and honestly, the insights go way beyond just trading.
Yeah, what's really interesting is how the source connects it all back to mastery. It argues that understanding mastery, in markets or anywhere else, means looking at the intent behind what someone does. A bit like appreciating a painting, really.
So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to unpack this chart as art idea. We want to pull out those key nuggets about mastery, clarity, intent, things you can actually apply to understanding almost any complex information you run into.
Exactly. The core idea is pretty straightforward. The trading chart isn't just like a dumping ground for data points. The source frames it as a canvas.
A canvas. Okay.
Yeah. And while it's obviously filled with raw price action, the market's ups and downs, all that noise, the real value, according to this piece, is only unlocked by the artist's intent, the analyst's intent.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about slapping indicators on there. It's understanding why each piece is there, how it fits into the bigger picture the analyst is building.
Precisely. And the article draws a sharp contrast between the novice and the master. The novice, well, they see the chart as just a receptacle, right? So they tend to just splatter paint.
Splatter paint, meaning?
Meaning adding random lines, maybe impulsive indicators, those empty strokes. But the master, they practice curation. They use intentional strokes.
Intentional strokes.
Yeah.
Like specific support and resistance lines, or maybe focusing on volume.
Exactly. Strategic moves. They see the chart less as a receptacle and more like a conversation.
A conversation. That's interesting. What does that imply? How is a conversation different from just filling a space?
Well, it implies they're actually listening, responding to the market's rhythm, its patterns, instead of just forcing their own ideas or like dumping tools onto the chart. Each intentional mark is a response.
Right, a response to what the price is actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that brings us to the analysis tools.
Mm-hmm.
Fibonacci, moving averages, Elliott wave, that sort of thing. The article calls these brush strokes. How does the artist use them differently?
Yeah, brush strokes. And the key is they have to serve a greater purpose. It asks, does adding this tool, drawing this line, does it actually create space for the next insight?
Create space?
Yes.
How so? Like clarifying something?
Yeah. For instance, maybe defining a clear price channel helps highlight where a potential breakout might happen. That's creating analytical space. But if your tool doesn't really harmonize, if it feels forced or just adds clutter...
Then it's just noise, not art.
Exactly. The source suggests it's just noise. Great analysis should kind of flow organically, like it emerges naturally from the price action itself.
And this isn't just dry technical stuff, the article says. It has emotional resonance, making the chart breathe. What's that about?
It's the idea that really good analysis tells a story. You can almost feel the conflict on the chart, the push and pull between buyers and sellers, the tension building before a move. It contrasts that sort of sterile, purely mechanical analysis with analysis that feels more like a poem.
A poem? Structured, insightful, but alive.
Right, alive with the market's energy.
Okay, so behind this art, there's obviously discipline. The article mentions skill, restraint, and flow. Let's break those down.
Well, skill isn't just knowing how to use a tool, like the mechanics. It's knowing why you're using it and, crucially, when not to use it.
Knowing when to leave it out.
Right.
Restraint.
Exactly. Restraint, that's huge. Avoiding overloading the chart. The source compares that to overpainting, often a sign of maybe insecurity or lack of clarity.
Makes sense. And flow.
Flow is about moving with the market's rhythm, adapting your analysis as the market evolves, rather than trying to force the market into your rigid framework.
So it feels like this all kind of distills down to one core question the source asks, which is quite powerful. Are you creating analysis just to fill space? Adding indicators because you can, or you feel like you should?
Or are you trying to create meaning, where every single stroke, every line, every tool is a deliberate step towards actual clarity and understanding?
That's a big difference.
It really is. And if you take a step back, this whole framework, it's incredibly useful way beyond trading charts. It applies to analyzing, well, any complex system or information you're trying to get your head around.
Right. It's a call to aim for clarity over just clutter, to be intentional with what you include.
Yeah, and to practice restraint when you've got tons of data flying at you, letting insights kind of emerge naturally rather than forcing them. It really says a lot about the mindset behind the work.
So ultimately, the chart or whatever analysis you're doing, it kind of acts like a mirror, reflects the mind of the analyst. Is it cluttered, anxious, Or is it minimalist, focused, at peace?
And the source leaves us with this thought. Mastery isn't really about rushing or just filling up the page. It's more about aligning your whole process with patience, with a sense of inevitability, almost like how nature works.
So the final question for you listening is, what does your canvas reveal about how you approach complexity? Something to think about.